Yo, what's going on, guys? We got a different type of video today. We're inside today. It's currently pouring out in the Bay Area, and you guys saw from the video title, I will be ranking my cars on a tier list, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, and then also why I sold them. So, yeah, I'm here with my manager, Pickle. I don't think she's going to be doing too much talking. I think I'm going to be doing most of the review, right? Hey. Yeah, she didn't really do too much talking. She kind of just sits there, but she gets paid well, for everyone that's wondering. And then, yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys. So first up, we got a very special car. It's my first car. That's why it's special to me. I picked this thing up when I was 16. It was my first manual car, as well as a turbo car. So it was definitely an experience to be had. I picked it up with 210,000 miles. I drove it to around 220,000 miles when I sold it. But it was a good 1.5 years in high school. And a lot of things happened with the car. It was actually really, really nice when I got it. And then I slowly started to modify it. This picture I'm showing you guys right now is what it looked like at the end of when I owned it. But when I picked it up, it was like stock. I didn't really take too many pictures of it, so I'm sorry if I don't have those pictures. And yeah, I basically picked up a sick-ass energy steering wheel. As you guys can see, it was the neochrome with the white handle with the quick release. And I always put it on my windshield because, that's sick. You got to do that when you're in high school. I was broke as I don't even, there's not a word that can describe how broke I was, man. I only work summer times and I work my ass off during the summer. I work like 35 hours a week every summer and saved up for, to last me throughout the year. But yeah, I picked up some sick ass JNC wheels. They were $400. And I thought I literally like, after I lowered it on some, I think I bought JNC Magic or JIC Magic coilovers. They had like 60,000 miles on them and they were 20 years old and they eventually snapped on me actually. And I had to get some tan springs with stock struts. But while I had those coilovers, I slammed it on its nuts, put the JNC wheels on it with stretch tires, and I thought I was the sickest kid at high school. I thought I was so sick. I then put a blast pipe on the car because I wanted to be obnoxiously loud. And I picked up some Sparco seats for the car from a Filipino guy in SF. I don't know if they're real. I mean, they're $150 with brackets, so I'm going to have to safely assume that they weren't real. But I thought that they were real, and I thought that they were sick, so that's all that mattered, I guess. And yeah, I would basically take my car when it was raining, and I tried to be like Han from Fast and the Furious, except I was really more like the main character. I forgot what his name was, but when he was like trying to learn how to drift, in the court in the fisherman yard, and then he failed and he kept crashing. So that's actually what happened. Is I actually did crash while trying to drift my WRX in a parking lot, and I basically smacked out my hood and destroyed my headlight. And as any high schooler would do, I tried to basically hammer out my old hood because I didn't want to buy a new one. And I bought a headlight off eBay for like $30, put it in, put the hood back on, made it like somewhat aligned it, and then called it a day. You can obviously tell in this picture that it was crashed, but as any high schooler would, I thought it was okay. The car had really high miles, like I said before. So after I was driving for a while, I over torqued the lug nuts on my wheels, and that actually it came back and bit me as I was driving on the highway. The studs all cracked and sheared, and the wheel shot out from under me, underneath the car, and hit another car. And then I was riding on three wheels, and then the basically the rotor on the right side. So yeah, I basically completely destroyed my front end. I had to replace all that, and it wasn't a fun experience, but it was definitely a big learning experience. Don't over torque your lug nuts, or you will end up like me on a tow truck. I mean, I already end up on tow trucks, but you guys know, like, I try to do as many things as I can to not end up on tow truck. But yeah, honestly, this car was so great to me, though. Other than that, it didn't really, like, mechanically, it didn't really break down, other than the coolant overflow reservoir or something like that exploded. But the boxer motor was actually good. It didn't blow up on me in my possession. I heard it blew up like 5 times after I sold it. So, but at least, hey, it wasn't me. So I'd honestly have to rate this car like I put it in the B tier just because I owned it. If I hadn't owned it and it was still clean, I would definitely rank it in the A tier, man. When I got it, it was so mint, man. I would take that car back in a heartbeat. Also, had a banging ass sound system too. The guy, previous guy, put like $1,500 in that sound system. It had a big ass sub in the back. It was sick. So yeah, I love my WRX. I loved it so much. I really wish I could have owned that car, that same exact car, where I am now in life. I would have had money to be able to like properly maintain it and not ruin it. So, but yeah, it's just every high schooler story, man. Everyone in high school gets a car, does cheap stuff to it. I still do cheap stuff to my cars, man. But this was like really bad. I would never buy coilovers that are 20 years old again with like 60,000 plus miles. So, anyways, yeah, I would only rank this car in an A tier, but because I owned it and I ruined it, I would probably put it in B tier. All right, next car. This is gonna be really short, but the next car I owned was this was a 325E, 325i. I don't know. Me and my friend picked up for $200. Doesn't, it didn't run. And then we tried to get it to run, and we never got it to run. We owned it for about 2 months, and we parted it out for like $600 in profit, and then we gave the shell to Pick and Pull. So very short lived. I'd rank that one probably in like the D tier just because it didn't run, but it was a cool car. All right, here we go. This is one of my favorite cars. This is honestly like one of the most fun cars I've ever had. This is a 240 SX. It was a 1989 S13. It was this thing. I shouldn't have bought this car in high school because I was an absolute degenerate with it. But basically, I think I got it for like $7,000 or something. I still like know who he is. He's a pretty cool guy. He actually has an R32 as well. But he built this car from the shell up. It had a SR20. I think it had a red top with a Tomei T28 like turbo or something like that. But yeah, it was on an RS Enthalpy tune. It was making like high 200 wheel horsepower. It was boosting on like 15 psi. Man, that thing ripped. It had a welded diff. It had big ass VSKFs on it. It was the gateway drug for me to becoming a hot boy. This is when I knew what my destiny was in life. It screamed my name. It called me. It had a big ass Big Country Labs wing on it, 74 inches wide, and a full straight pipe out the back. So it also had a BR rev limiter. So in the parking lot at high school, I would sit there and hit the rev limiter and be like, pop out flames. So yeah, that got me in a lot of times. It got me in the office, got me in the school principal's office a lot. None of the teachers liked me. The principals didn't like me. None of the deans liked me. They actually all hated me, and they brought me in the office many times and also called the police on me. So other than that, it was a pretty good experience. I only snapped like 2 axles in the car in the 2 months I owned it, just because it was a stock S13 axles with 300 wheel or like high 200 wheel horsepower. And then I also didn't know what stretch tires were. I had previously stretched my tires, but not to this extent. Previous guy, put 235s on an 11-inch wide wheel. And in the front, he put 205s on a 10-inch wide wheel. So I didn't know that you're supposed to replace the tires often, and I just kind of drove it around. And eventually it debeated on me when I was when I was turning into a corner, and destroyed the KF. So I had to repair that. And it was like $150 back then to redo the lip, which is actually very fair in today's market. But yeah, this car was a full-on drift missile, full Type X kit, super fun. The reason I had to sell it was because I had to go to college. I went to Arizona State, and there's no way in hell this thing was making it. So I had to sell it that summer of my senior year to become a freshman at college. So very, very unfortunate situation, but it was probably for the best because this car actually blew up in the next person's ownership within like, I think he blew it. Or no, I think he crashed it. He crashed or blew it up within like a month. But yeah. All right, next car. Okay, so I went through like a flipping phase. I wanted to like flip cars. So after I sold my 240, I had like, I think I sold it for like $6,000 or $7,000. But I had like all that cash and I was like 18. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to become an entrepreneur. So I bought this 350Z. It was a 2003 track edition. It had some sick ass VAR stones on it. And I thought I could flip it for profit. Little did I know it was burning oil. And on the drive home, it burned basically all the oil in the oil pan. and after 2 days, it had rod knock. So, yeah, you know, I rate this car a good, I would put it at like the C tier, just because it would have been a great car if it didn't burn oil. Also, sorry, I forgot to rank the, I forgot to rank the 240. I almost forgot to rank the 240, but I ranked the 240. I probably put that in the A tier. I love S13s. That one was so much fun. I really wish I could have kept it retuned, it kept it reliable, but man, that thing was so mint, man. A tier for that S13. It was by far one of my most like fun cars, man. I regret selling that car. Yeah, then I went to college and you know, I went to Arizona State and I was like, man, that first semester I didn't have a car. I was like, dude, this sucks. It sucked so much. I was honestly kind of like, I think I was getting like a little depressed. Not depressed clinically, but I was very sad. I was very sad, and I really missed my car, or having a car. So my parents were like, you know what? We'll let you have a car. Just don't do degenerate stuff in Arizona. So I bought another 350Z. This one, though, was an HR. So this one was a 2007. So it had the better motor that did not burn oil. And yeah, I bought a bone stock, man. I bought this thing bone stock with 100,000 miles, 103,000 miles. It was oh man. It was so much fun. It had like 300. It was a HR, so it had like the dual intakes. So it had like 306 horsepower from the factory. So it was my fastest car I've ever had. It was so much fun. I bought it for like $6,000. The guy was so nice. He was like, you know what? Like, you're gonna enjoy this car, man, through college. Like, I'll give it to you for $6,000. I was like, $6,000? I was like, oh, say less. So I bought that car and I ruined it. I put some sick ass Varstones on it. I was working at the time too. This is when I started working as a server. I was like 18, 19, so I started to make some money. I made a little money working part-time while also in school. So that's how I was able to afford all these parts. So yeah, I got the big ass Big Country Labs wing. Or no, it was a Battle Arrow. I put a Battle Arrow wing on it. I put this fat ass wing on it, Varstone wheels. Before that, I actually had Ambits on it. So those blue wheels that you saw, I had on. I got those for like $400 or something, and I got the Varstones for like $600. But yeah, I thought I was so sick, and yeah, I did some devious things in Arizona. I actually got pulled over. It wasn't good. I got a criminal speeding, and I had to go to juvenile, or not juvenile hall, but it was allegedly not a good time. And then, yeah, you know, I came home back from Arizona for the summer, and I transferred into community college. So I was able to build a car more at home since I had a garage with my dad or my parents. And, yeah, we took some cool pictures together. I took it to a track day. It was a really fun time. It was a really fun time. I owned that car for probably like a year and a half until I sold it. And, the only reason I sold it is because I wanted to find another car, something turbocharged again. But yeah, honestly, this car, it was my newest car I've ever had. It had AC, heater, whole shebang bang, stock besides like the bolt-ons I did, like the admin air intakes, and then I also did the Tomei exhaust, but stock cats and everything like that. So stock power, stock tune, start up every single time. No issues whatsoever. Everything worked in that car. I would rate that car probably like A tier, because it was my most reliable car. I drove it back to and from Arizona twice. I put almost 20,000 miles on that car, and I had no issues. It was one of the best cars, reliability wise, I've ever had. And it was also really fun to slide. It was really fun on the track, and it had just everything I ever could have like wanted besides space. But you know, you don't buy these cars for space. So let's see, what was my next car? I gotta think. Hold on. Oh man, how could I forget? So the story. Okay, so basically, like, I have my 3VZ and I transferred into Santa Clara University where I met Griffin and Ethan, but I didn't really know him back then, right? So I transferred in. There's like a junior or something like that, and they had this club fair, and the guys were like, there was guys at this table, and I was like, what the hell? It said like SCU Car Club, and I was like, man, who are these guys? And I'm wearing this Sparko hoodie, and the current president back then, his name was Dean. He was wearing the same Sparko hoodie, and he pointed at me. He's like, yo, you like cars? I'm like, bro, yeah. Like, I love cars. And he's like, man, you should come out to the first event. So it was fall quarter. I came out, and I didn't have a car at the time, actually. I was driving my mom's Civic because I sold my 350Z, and I was still looking for cars, right? So I was just driving, I just showed up my mom's Civic and I got a ride along with all the guys. And I actually took this picture. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but you guys can see that red Miata. I don't know if you guys know, but that's him. That's the real life him. That was him before he was Ford Toge. That was him when he was just Griffin. Bone stock Miata. He just had it as his normal commuter car. He didn't drive fast or anything like that. But that's where I first met everyone, and I actually got a ride in NA Miata, 1994 Miata from this guy named Nima. It was a turbocharged Miata. That thing made like 220 wheel, weighed like 2,000 pounds. He had to gut it out, bucket seats and everything. He ripped that thing up the Toge, man, when I was with him, and I started crying, man. Like that was a moment where it was like someone showed me the light. I was actually looking at E46 M3s before, just because I thought BMWs were cool. That and like 335i's. I thought BMWs were so cool. I wanted to be fast, like in a straight line, things like that. But once Nima showed me that the power of the 90s, that's when I made my decision to buy my RX-7. That's what it took. I was straying off from the path of who I was. I wanted to be like, I wanted to have a cool like BMW because I wanted like, it was like, BMWs are like nice. You could take girls out and stuff like that. But Nima said, he set me straight. He set me straight back onto my path, who I was, my origin, who I was. And that's when I decided. I was like, I think I need an RX-7. And yeah, that's what basically got me to buy my RX-7. I really almost bought an M3. I was so close. I was super super close because I had the money. It was in my budget. Back then, M3s could be had for like 15 grand. So that's basically what my budget was. But I picked this RX-7 up for 11 grand, and I've loved it ever since. It is my favorite car. I miss it so much now. It's coming back this week, so I'm super excited. But yeah, this car, it's gone through so much. I mean, I've blown it up maybe twice. I forgot how I lost count. But, I've been through a lot. I've owned the car for a long time now. Almost coming up on 4 years now. And it's the car I've owned the longest. I've never, ever owned a car this long before. And man, I've gone through so much with this car, man. It's been the greatest like gift ever. And I got it for a great deal too. So yeah, I rank this car solid S tier just because you guys know it's like my like pride and joy. It's been broken into. Like I said, I've blown it up twice. It's been the best car ever to me, and I love it, and I don't think I'll ever sell it ever. So it'll probably gonna stay with me forever. Very grateful to have that car. This one was the one, man. I'm telling you, like I love my RX-7 too. The RX-7's over everything, but this is definitely by far my second favorite car of all time. It was a 2001 Integra, Acura Integra, Honda Integra, whatever you guys, for you Aussies or people in Japan, yeah, Honda, or for the rest of the world, other than America, Honda Integra. But for all my Americans, it is a Acura Integra. Man, this thing was, oh man, I should never, ever have sold this car. Got it for $4,000, man. I got this thing for $4,000. It had a built head. It was so good. I had a full Super Tech valve train, man. Got a full exhaust, headers, intake, full bolt-ons already. It was on like 17 or 16 by 7 wheels. It already had full suspension, full arms. It was so fast. I eventually got a dyno tuned on a chrome. I got it tuned on chrome. Hybrid Works, made 176 wheel horsepower. That thing was so fast, man. It started up every single time. It worked every single time. I ripped it every single time. It burned a tiny bit of oil, but that's it. Other than that, I ripped it to redline every single run, man. I took those brakes, fired up every time. It was the most reliable, fast car I've ever had besides 350Z. But 350Z was like kind of heavy. This thing handled, man. 350Z weighed like 3,100 pounds, okay? This Integra weighed like 2,600 pounds, front wheel drive, super light chassis. Man, I should never have sold that thing, man. I'm literally itching for a Honda right now looking at these pictures. I miss this thing so much. It was such a good car. I rate this thing an S tier all the way. Any Honda. This thing had a B18C1. It was a real GSR, man. With the transmission too. Short gearing. This thing was So sick. I love this thing. I miss it every day. There's not a day that goes by where I don't think about this car. So next up, we have a we have this E36 M3. This thing was pickle. This thing, you remember this thing? You remember? All right, she didn't remember, but yeah, this thing was a bucket. I picked it up for $5,000, and it was absolute. I had to put like so much money into it. It was an absolute bucket. The ignition column was literally dangling out because someone had stolen it before. So we had to get a whole new ignition column and put it in. The reason I got it to Ethan had one, and I was like, oh, I want to try to do BMWs, and it was cool, it was fun, it slid and everything like that. But at the end of the day, man, it was still an E36, man. That thing was a bucket. It had frame damage. It was just the motor was solid. Like the drivetrain was good. So the next owner, you got a good ass drivetrain, man. That thing's worth like $4,000 alone in drivetrain, but the body was just absolutely horrible. It was techno violet, but it was not techno violet. It was absolutely destroyed. So yeah, that was just like one of those cars I kind of just bought because I thought it was a good deal. And back then it was kind of a good deal, but then I had to put money into it, so it became like less of a good deal. Yeah, I honestly rate this car at like this one specifically, probably like a C tier, just because it did drive well and it slid. But that was all. It was like a drift missile, but it was an M3, so it was kind of unfortunate. All right, this one, I don't know what it was, but I wanted like a frame damage streak. So I bought this one too, like maybe like a month or 3 months after my M3. So I bought this 240SX. It got smacked in the rear. I bought it from some kid in Oregon that he flips a ton of cars. So good, I mean, good on him. He was like 19. He was an entrepreneur. But I bought it for $3,400. It was so clap, man. The lights weren't even wired up. Me and Ethan had to solder the wires. I crimped the wires like at the kid's place. It had frame damage in the rear. It got smacked severely. It was like 2 inches in. The tail lights didn't match up. The motor ran okay. It had AC. The interior was like pretty much stripped out except for the front. Dash was completely crumbled and cracked. So yeah, it was basically a normal 240. I basically unbent the frame a little bit with the hammer, put Raceland coilovers in it, bought these Volk wheels. The Volk wheels are the best parts about it. I bought old Volk wheels from the 90s, threw it on there, and then called it a day and called it a toge car. Honestly, it was less fun than my other S13. I think I just wanted the nostalgic feeling of owning an S13 because I missed mine from high school, but this one was nowhere near that one because it was NA, slow as hell, single jingle. And yeah, so I'd probably rate this one at like a C tier just because it is a 240SX. It was a light chassis. It did handle okay, but it was all beat up and the frame was bent. So I probably wouldn't buy it again, but to the right person, I'm sure they could be happy with it. It's just not for me. So yeah, I sold my Nissan 240SX, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want another Nissan, and I bought something. I bought something very special. So you guys, most of you know actually that are new. Yeah, a lot of new people don't know I have an RX-7. All the OG people know I have an RX-7, but all the new people only know I have an R32. So I bought this one in December. It came off the trailer from Quebec, not running. Thanks, Charles. Well, it didn't run because of the importers. They actually flooded the motor, but it was misfiring only on 5 cylinders, which Charles, the previous owner, claimed it was running perfectly. He sent me videos, and he masked the misfire. So shout out to him. It also had rust underneath when he said it didn't have rust. That was also a really great point. So the transmission's pretty much destroyed. The fourth gear's like non-existent in terms of synchros. Third gear's still a little bit there. And then I've had to dump maybe like $5-6 grand into it to get it to where it is today. And maintenance and some modifications. Modifications being synonymous with maintenance because the old parts broke and then I had to get modernized parts, which is a modification, I guess. But yeah, it's been good. I really like the R32. It's proven to be more expensive than the RX-7, especially with all the things breaking and stuff like that. I mean, diff still needs service. Need to do all the fluids probably in the transmission, or honestly, just dump the transmission, get another one. Let's see, the brakes are going out. I probably need to do the brakes, rotors, and pads. Either get the V-spec ones or just get OEM ones with better pads that aren't squealing. It's been a really fun car. It turns a lot of heads. In terms of how it handles, I do got to say that my RX-7 is better on the mountain than the R32. I think the R32s are really fast in a straight line for sure. It's got all-wheel drive too, so off the line it just snaps. But in terms of handling, it is 400 pounds heavier than 400 pounds heavier than my RX-7. And yeah, it's just, at the end of the day, RX-7, man, holds the record on the toge. You guys watch Hot Version? That's the car, the Feed FD. But yeah, R32, it's got all the history. Griffin actually taught me a lot about the R32 history. I bought the car, I really liked it, but Griffin knew all the history about it. So it's a lot of learning. I've gone into the motors. Wiring is all messed up when we got it. Everything was just breaking. So hopefully my opinion will change in like maybe a couple months once I fix it more and more. But my initial impression was like, this car's really expensive for what it is. Now, I'm happy with it. I think I'd rate my R32 at like an A tier. Maybe because I haven't had it long enough to grow like true sentimental value, like attachment to it. But yeah, I'd rate it like A. It's really close to S. It's got so many problems I have to fix, and then this imaginary bill is just in my head where I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like pretty expensive. So yeah, it's just the cost that's knocking it down, honestly, at the tier list. So yeah, just cost or performance per cost. That's all. But yeah, hope you guys like this little tier list from me and Pickle. She said, Pickle, wake your ass up. You're getting paid for this. Come on. Come on. Okay. Yeah, so for me and Pickle, thank you guys so much. If you guys like the video, if you guys like videos like this, like where I'm inside, it's definitely going to rain within the next month or two. So if you guys ever want me to do something like this again during a rainy day where I can't go outside, comment down below. Also, if you guys don't know, we still have merch available. We have the RX-7 hoodie still available. Link will be in the description down below. But yeah, I appreciate everyone sticking this far into the video. This is more of like a what's it called? This is more of like a longer style video. I know it's not as maybe entertaining, but it's definitely more of like a chill video that I can kind of just sit and do and edit together. But yeah, thanks for sticking to the end of the video, guys. From me and Pickle, from the bottom of our hearts, we really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.